layers of the Fab City Full Stack. The Fab City Full Stack is a framework that helps cities and regions to interpret the Fab City Challenge and also guides them to implement it in a multi-scalar and ecosystemic approach and define their own strategic action plan. So as you already know, this is a public event. And just to organize a bit the event, a quick off-event recap. The event is hosted by Fab City Foundation, the second roundtable of 2022. And just to briefly explain what is a roundtable, it is an open space to generate discussions on current and trending topics around Fab City. It is open to Fab City Global Initiative community. And the topic of today's roundtable is about platform ecosystems in a global network, which is one of the top layers of the Fab City Full Stack. So what's new in 2022? First of all, we are presenting MDDI, the Master in Design for Distributed Innovation, which is an online and in-person program in association with local nodes, Shanghai, Lima, Pune, Santiago de Chile, Paris, Hamburg, Quebec, Montreal, and Bali right now. And another topic that we are presenting today is a new format, quarterly roundtable symposiums plus working groups. And we are gonna start right now with Norela talking about the Bali Fab Fest. So Nore.
Thank you, Jose. Thank you, Jose. Yes, as Jose was mentioning, one of the big things that we are producing this year, I don't know, I think you're seeing the wrong tab. I'm not sure. Are you seeing the right tab? Are you seeing Bali Fab Fest? Yes. Okay, so one of the big events that we are doing this year, just so everybody to understand, this year the event, the big gathering of the Global Fab Lab Network was supposed to take place in Bhutan, but due to COVID restrictions, we basically ran out of anywhere to go. And there was a big suggestion, why don't we do it in Bali? There's a lot of opportunities to create here locally, and how this digital fabrication and the Fab City concept and the full stack can be part of a new experience in the general Fab Lab conference that we have had in the past. So this year we're merging these two events, the Fab Lab conference and the Fab City Summit, to make Bali Fab Fest, which will bring together a more in-person experience due to those 2 years of not being able to gather together due to the pandemic. So I think this is a great opportunity for anyone in the network, either the Fab City Network or the Global Fab Lab Network, to join us. We will encourage you basically to participate. We have different formats of participation. We have hands-on workshops, theoretical workshops, research papers that are open. You can apply with a talk or a panel. And we're also introducing a new concept this year, that it's the Fab Island Challenge, that we will have more information on that. But basically what we're encouraging you all is to apply or submit your proposals before July 15, that is our deadline. So if you have any other questions related to the event, just make sure to contact us through our Slack channels or WhatsApp or whatever other channels you have. And we will be happy to give you more information on the event so that you can join us this fall from October 12th to October 22 in Bali for a wonderful experience. So back to you, Jose.
Thank you, Nore. So next we can go over the expert talks. We are starting with a recording from Orin Hardy. Orin is a director of Bamboo U. In collaboration with Ibuku, Orin created Bamboo U, an education enterprise to share the knowledge that have been built over the past decade in bamboo construction, sustainable design, and eco-architecture. We can go over his recording, and then we will have 2 more expert talks.
Hi, everyone. My name's Oren. First of all, I want to thank you guys for giving me a chance to share a little bit about my project, Bamboo U, with the Fab City Summit. And I'm sorry I can't join you guys, in person, albeit virtually, given the time difference here in Indonesia. But I'm going to share a little bit about my project that I started, and a little bit about why I believe bamboo is a really powerful medium for both for education and also for building a better world. So stay tuned, and I'm going to share a short presentation. So I started Bamboo U as a way to really inspire and educate people about the power of bamboo and to create a better built environment, and ultimately a better world by using natural materials and renewable materials. My wife and I really wanted to do something that would bring people together, uh, both to learn, but also to learn how to create a future that we want to live in. And I had the privilege of having a sister and a father who are really the pushing the power of bamboo as a material, and they had already started to design incredible structures that were inspiring people to rethink the material really as something that could be used to build permanent structures. And we created Bamboo U because we wanted to bring that to more people, and we wanted to find ways to engage young professionals and change makers in how to bring what we had created into the broader context and the conversation of design and construction around the world. And it's interesting because traditionally bamboo is really thought of as a very humble material, especially here in Asia. It's considered a poor man's timber. But, it's often true that I think we overlook the power of natural materials and traditional materials in the modern context. And in fact, if we take a closer look, we see that this material has the power to really help us satiate our innate desire to create things without compromising the integrity and the health of the planet if we do it properly. And that's why with all of our courses, it starts with, simply understanding the material that we're using for what it is, as a sustainable grass that grows very quickly. If you plant a bamboo today, within 10 years, you have a sustainable source of timber that you can harvest for generations. Every year, it will yield more and more poles. And harvesting these poles in a sustainable way can actually improve the health of the clump and help us capture more carbon than if we didn't use the material. So in that way, it's a very, very human-friendly material, especially for people who are addicted to creating and building and really adding things to our environment. And I think the first important innovation and the power that of the things we've done and what we really try and teach at Bamboo U is this ability to embrace both traditional ideas with innovative ideas. And that's really evident, I think, firstly, in the treatment method we do. So an untreated bamboo structure would be eaten by insects such as the powder post beetle and other wood-boring insects within 2 or 3 years. But once you treat it with something, it can last a lifetime. We use a natural-based borax treatment solution that was developed in the 1980s and 90s to treat bamboo. And that's really allowed us to unlock the material as a durable material rather than just as a temporary material. The other thing that we teach that's really powerful is this idea of hands-on design. So much designing happens on a flat two-dimensional screen with the assistance of computer programs and technology. And sometimes we forget the power and the importance of analog. And with bamboo, it's really important to include model making in the process. And that allows us also to iterate and design and to think about how we design and what we're designing as we're building. And so as we're model making, it actually helps inform the final product. And it also acts as the blueprint for the building that we go ahead and build. It's not that we don't use technology. We do use a lot of technology, and we really believe that by combining hands-on design with technology and with computer and computer-assisted or digital technologies, we can really unlock new ideas in a powerful way. So you can see here, this is a simple building we've done at Bamboo U. That's a small pavilion that was used with a combination of model making and 3D software, in this case, Rhinoceros and Grasshopper. And you can see on site, this model, although the software is really useful, this model actually becomes the blueprint that helps us put into practice. And, you know, it's important to recognize that because it's a natural material, it has its own characteristics. And so we actually find that you can't just render something and then expect to be able to build it out of bamboo. You really need to explore and understand the capacity of that material. And because it's so varied, you know, with different species, depending on the moisture content, so many different elements require us to really do it through action and not just through theory, which is why Bamboo U is really based on doing hands-on learning by doing rather than simply understanding things intellectually. And you can see us here within a short period of time. Most of our courses are only, you know, 5 to 11 days long. And in a short period of time, we can actually create, you know, full scale one-to-one models and full scale structures. This structure is our kitchen at Bamboo U, and this was actually all the structural elements were built by students that attend our courses. And then we did the roofing professionally, but most of the structure was actually done with people that had a little bit of experience. And when you look at this structure, it's actually quite incredible. But it's actually just a very simple combination of traditional know-how and really valuing and understanding the power of our local carpenters and what they're good at, mixed with clever engineering and modern architecture. So by bringing those pieces together and bringing people from different levels of society, from different backgrounds, I believe we can achieve much more incredible things than if we're just, you know, designing with people who we tend to interact with or know well. And it may seem unachievable to do this in a lot of contexts. And in fact, it is, but we really believe that what we're teaching in our context can have a powerful impact on other contexts, such as the city. And we're finding that even some of our participants who are never going to build a structure like this end up really being inspired and gleaning parts of what we teach in order to apply it to bigger situations. And I'm really excited to see how that unfolds in the city as well. And you know, when we look at transitioning our urban built environments from being primarily based on concrete and steel and using carbon-based materials, I feel like bamboo is going to play a really important role in that. And it may not necessarily be round poles, it might be laminate, but even laminated bamboo has its own potential and power that I believe will really transform how we build things. So Bamboo U is really about bringing people together and inspiring them to do incredible things in their context and learning from our context to see that if you really harness local materials and local knowledge with modern ideas and a desire to innovate, you can create powerful things. And I'm going to leave it at that since I have a very short period of time to talk, but I hope that was useful, and I hope that everybody starts to look at bamboo and explore bamboo as a viable building material for the modern context and for the future. Thanks so much.
Amazing. So the next expert is Elizabeth Ofori. Elizabeth is a senior program associate in Emerging Public Leaders, EPL, which is a public service leadership organization that is preparing the next generation of competent and effective public sector leaders in Africa. So Elizabeth.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to meet you, and it's an honor to be here. This is actually the first time I'm hearing of Fab City, and I got the information super late yesterday, but I was excited about the opportunity to interact with awesome people doing amazing things, especially in this new world we are experiencing. So I'm excited, and thank you for having me. I wouldn't introduce myself because Josefina has done a marvelous job at that. And I would go straight to my submission on new ways of learning, particularly how we are doing it here in Ghana. It's pre-COVID, a lot of our learning was very on-site and face-to-face. And from my background, aside from emerging public leaders, where we are recruiting young people from the universities, training them, putting them through different forms of training, which they would typically do in person, we have quickly come to realize that we need to adapt the ways that we teach and learn. And we are going more for mobile learning. And the world is getting very digital. And before COVID, a lot of the time when I personally heard digital, I'm thinking of gadgets and technology. But I've quickly come to learn in the last 2-3 years that digital is more of combining information through data analysis and the use of technology and new ways of learning to actually drive new results. And that is really changing the sphere of learning for us. I am also the co-founder of a startup that is a people development intervention program called Thrive, and it's focused on delivering ongoing learning and professional development to individuals, corporate bodies. So combining these two experiences, we have really come to a point where we realize that the world is changing and is changing fast. And it's important that delivering certain services, especially when it has to do with competence, learning, so that people can stay on top of their game, we need to also change with the changing times. And due to restrictions, but also knowing that our world has to really go on. We can't keep in isolation the entire time. Eventually, we'll have to keep going to work. We'll have to keep economies running. Professional development has to go on. Children would have to learn. We've had to adapt very quickly. And I must say here in Ghana, the adaptation has really swung towards mobile learning. And what is mobile learning? It's learning on the go. People are now going more and more towards their opportunity or the advantage of being able to learn wherever they are. Whether they are in transit to work or whether they are in their homes, they do not need to be in a fixed place to learn. So I've sat in commercial vehicles and people have their earphones on and they're in classes and they are using different forms of learning, auditory, visual, podcasts, to just keep informed and keep growing. And so that is the form of learning that we are tuning towards in this part of the world. There are so many challenges that exist with this new way of learning, but that challenge also provides opportunity for young innovators to take advantage of. And that includes finding new ways of sending learning across to people, regardless of their accessibility to data or the connectivity challenges that we may experience. And whilst learning is changing worldwide, we have also come to realize that it is changing at different scenarios for different parts of the world. A lot more places may be tuning in towards full-time virtual. Other places may be using other modes of learning, multimodal ways of learning. Here in Ghana and Africa, I think mobile learning is really fast gaining grounds. And even for a people that is a bit more conservative and not very quick to tune in towards the new trend of learning, you realize that the globalization of the world is posing certain high competencies that people are now, more Ghanaians, especially young Ghanaians, are now tuning in towards mobile learning and being able to sign on to classes wherever they are using their devices. Here in Ghana, one more thing that we are doing here is the use of short codes. We have connectivity, data connectivity challenges. So the use of USSD is gaining grounds where people could simply use certain short codes to access learning sites and platforms for growing and continuous development. So these are some of the ways that the Ghanaian youth and the Ghanaian people are adapting to new ways of learning. While there are varieties of things happening, we are really looking at being able to combine data, being able to combine technology and the different ways of learning to be able to provide value for people, especially those looking to continuously develop and improve. And we are actually looking out for ways we could partner with different institutions, different individuals who are doing things differently to continue delivering solutions in that area to our clients here in Ghana, and that is the young Ghanaian. So that is what I would have to present briefly regarding the new ways of learning and the change in the atmosphere of learning and development here in Ghana, Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Your energy is amazing. So thank you for your overview. And next we have Santiago Fontemilla. He is a hands-on learning expert and a master in rapid prototyping. He has a master in architecture, the Fab Academy diploma, and he's pursuing his PhD in digital manufacturing processes at UPC. Santi?
Hi, everybody. Give me a second. I would like to share my screen. Yeah. Yeah, almost done. Okay. Yeah, it works for everybody. Can you see it? Yeah. Okay, so yeah, it's a pleasure to be here and also meet some of you. I think so. I will have the honor to talk about an amazing program, a program that make me know most of you here, and I think so this is one of the fundamentals of this program. So I would like to talk about the Fab Academy. But before that, I will talk a little bit why I'm here now talking with you. So my little history about why I arrived to Fab Barcelona, why I'm still here. So as Josefina mentioned, so at some point after finish my, let's say, architectural degree and start working, I feel the interest to continue like researching and learning new ways of doing. So I start my PhD at that moment, and I basically have interested in new ways of like building, let's say, case models in that case. So in that, let's say I start researching about new ways to produce, okay? So, and the first thing I am talking about, let's say, more than 10 years ago, it was the word like 3D printing there. So I contact, let's say, actually the only two places in Fab Lab in Barcelona that basically searching in Google, they were saying like, okay, so we have 3D printers. So one of that was Fab Lab Barcelona. And in that moment, Fab Lab Barcelona was launching a project that I think so all of you know, that was the Fab City, okay? So the idea was, can we imagine, let's say, a network of local, let's say, Fab Labs in the neighborhoods to help, let's say, a city to be more, let's say, producer than consumer. So for that, they launched, let's say, the challenge and also some, let's say, scholarships for local people trained in digital fabrication, let's say, literacy and practices for then run that space. And this is where I enter. So I get that scholarship and I did the Fab Academy. So after that, I get stuck in Fab Lab Barcelona. Now I'm leading Fab Academy plus other programs, and I really like to enjoy like learning new ways of, let's say, or this researching about new ways of learning. So before to start, I would like to play this video. Do you hear the voice? No. Okay, don't worry. So what you are seeing here basically is Neil Garfield, that is basically one we like to call like the father of the idea of the Fab Labs, and also is the ones that basically runs, let's say, Fab Academy year by year. having the master classes or teaching the master classes, and you are seeing, let's say, a network of people, let's say, connected, like sharing like experiences, projects, and what they are doing, let's say, weekly in the local nodes. Okay, so, and I like this video because it's a little bit fun and it's a little bit about what this network is about. So now I will explain a little bit more about what is Fab Academy, how it's structured, things like that. But I think so the main, let's say, goal that I would like you to understand about Fab Academy, and this is a personal perspective of this, I think so Fab Academy a part of an educational program to basically build skills, let's say transversal skills and let's say hardcore skills. It's that actually it's, let's say, the program that helps us to teach the same, let's say, language between all nodes and people between. So everybody that did Fab Academy in the network, and nowadays we are more than, I think so, 3,000. So we identify as, let's say, the network that it is. And I think so, the Fab Lab network, it will not be the same if Fab Lab, if a Fab Academy will not exist nowadays. So Fab Academy starts 10 years ago, more or less, with the idea of Neil Garfinkel to basically prototype a course that he calls it like how to make almost anything, to basically fresh members of still a young Fab Lab network, okay, that needs technical training in order to run the Fab Labs and support the users of that labs. Soon, these Fab Lab students, they become, or they were more remotely than basically, let's say, presential. So it was basically the perfect excuse to start a program that what is nowadays Fab Academy. So basically an independent course, but with a specific dynamics, okay? So these specific dynamics, we call it like distributed education. And we are talking about 10 years ago. What it now seems like that is the new reality thanks to basically, or thanks, or because the pandemic. So 10 years ago, we start prototyping this idea. And these basically, let's say, have a deep implications in the way that we conceive the process of learning. So each student attends to a physical lab or not, or node, where they have contact with their peers, mentors, and have access to the physical infrastructure. And also all of these nodes are connected into the network, as I mentioned it, with several tools and protocols that allows connection and collaboration that makes these networks tangible. So the students, they can interact not only with their local peers and their local context, also with the global community of students and tutors for every corner of the network. So the program aims at what Neil and his brothers were mentioning, or call it Fab literacy. That basically is a collection of knowledge, skills, and mindsets that include not only the technical skills that obviously is there, but also design thinking, problem solving, creativity, collaboration, integration, sustainability, and resilience. So how this thing basically it's shaping. So it's basically 20 weeks where each week there's a different topic that goes from, let's say, digital or design or 3D printing, but mostly, let's say, covers digital tools for digitalized information. So fabrication and production processes, interaction and communication protocols, and strategies for scale the project to have like impact, let's say, outside of the Fab Labs. So what is Fab Academy? If we design Fab Academy, let's say, we see that Fab Academy is a crash course of 20 weeks with different like topics, each one that combines everything in a final project. And this final project normally it's associated to personal interest, but let's say locally like contextualize it. It's a really hands-on approach where the students, they have to practice, let's say, to learn and also to, let's say, share these experiences and also reflect in their basically portfolios. That is the way that they build, let's say, the knowledge, and they also like increase the knowledge year by year, because there's, let's say, new students, they use the reference like the previous like reference knowledge of the other students. It's open source in a way that all the knowledge is accessible for everybody, even now, even if the program is not running. So the materials and the tools are there, let's say, the knowledge and the video tools are there. And also, let's say, all the content that the students are creating, let's say, it's also there. It's a way, let's say, to empower, let's say, community and to grow, let's say, the project. And also it's distributed, as I mentioned. So there's like more or less like 200, it changed a little bit, but 200 like students per year, more or less, spread it in like 70 labs in 40 different countries at the same time. So what is the impact of the project? So as I mentioned it, each student have to, let's say, finish it, let's say, or let's say, yeah, I mean, have to do a final project like that basically shows how, let's say, all of these skills are connected, let's say. So, and the projects, let's say, goes from, let's say, any kind of topic that they want, but it's true that normally they are, let's say, connected to the local, let's say, context and local material. So what we are seeing here is, let's say, an example of final projects of Barcelona students, but there's thousands of it, and you can also check it in the website. So we have like projects as these ones that, for example, like tries to connect, let's say, new ways of producing, let's say, signals in reference of the how, let's say, American, let's say, Indian, let's say, communities like they was developing in the past. So projects that are in collaboration with research institutions, that what they do is like a new open ways to basically measure, let's say, what in the, let's say, research institutions they do, like machines that are closed, for example. So create new open source tools for doing the same that the industry is doing. New ways of learning. So students that they have the particular interest in learning, for example, a specific instrument, they create like new ways of learning, like in a distributed way. So this is basically an ukulele that is connected to another ukulele through, let's say, Wi-Fi protocol. So in order that the students can, the teacher can teach like student, even if they are like remotely connected. Or for example, we have new ways of exploring like growing, like, or let's say growing our own, let's say, food in the city. So here we have, let's say, mushroom, let's say, machine in the left, and an aquapine like system that allows like to grow, let's say, food in a more circular approach. So I think so the importance of these projects is that the ultimate goal is like distributing the knowledge and empowering individuals and communities to make almost anything. So we like to say that the students of the Fab Academy courses not only learn content, but also learn how they learn. So how to learn. And in that way, let's say, rethink and reinvent the way that they produce and design objects and interventions. That's it.
Thank you, Santi. Amazing. And now we can open the space for like 15 minutes of some Q&As. So everyone, please feel free to turn on your microphones. And if you have any questions or any topics you want to discuss, we can open the space for everyone. Paco, go ahead.
Thank you, Josefina. Great presentation, Santi. Thank you very much. I would like to ask you, how is it possible to become a node for Fab Academy program?
That's a great question. Maybe I think Thomas Vivanco, if you're there, you can give a brief heads up on that.
For Fab Academy nodes, well, I think that Santi is the most prepared person to answer that, but I will say that first of all, probably you will need the space and also a Fab Academy guru or someone that has experience, previous experience deploying Fab Academy. And then I think that you should go to the website fabacademy.org, and I think that per cycle they open spots for joining new nodes. Please, Santi, correct me if I am wrong or not.
Yeah, true. Sorry, because I had a problem and I didn't hear the question, but I'm assuming is how can you become a Fab Lab or something like that?
A node, a Fab Academy node.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, true. I mean, you need to be like part of, let's say, the Fab Academy network, the Fab Lab network, and also have an instructor and let's say the inventory, let's say. So, but it's true that at the beginning was a little bit like more strict than now. I mean, I think so. As soon as the network grows, the diversity also grows, and the casuistics, let's say, starts, let's say, like also again growing. So we have to flexibilize and see, let's say, creative ways to understand what is a node, how can people can participate. So nowadays you can do Fab Academy even if you don't have a Fab Academy instructor in the node. If you have, let's say, a mentor node, let's say, that helps you. So I think so we understand as everything. So the things go evolving, let's say. So we understand that Fab Labs can be, let's say, super different. So not everybody can have like a super Fab Lab. There's millions of ways to do a Fab Lab with a little bit of it could be, let's say, with a lot of like infrastructure, small infrastructure, and everybody have access to everybody have the rights to learn, let's say. And at the end, it's true that the inventory can be a little bit, let's say, a limitation in a way, but if you have the experience with someone that can guide you and can basically help you to choose, let's say, which ones from the whole inventory, I think so it's manageable. I don't know if I answered correctly, but more or less.
Yes, totally. Thank you, Santi.
Yeah, so just maybe to add a little bit, just to understand a little bit the idea behind, let's say, the Fab Lab network. So it's true the Fab Academy was the first program, educational program that the Fab Lab network has. But nowadays, there's several ones as Fab Academy, Fab Academy, Bio Academy. So, and probably in the future, some other ones. And the idea is to build this academy, let's say, possibilities for, let's say, Fab Lab network. Maybe Tomas, you know more than me about that.
Amazing. If there aren't any more questions, we can go over to another topic of the day. We are having Tomas Vivanco from Fab City Foundation. Tomas is an architect and has a Master in Advanced Architecture from IAC, a Master in Advanced Design from Elisava, and a PhD in Architecture and Urban Planning. He's one of the directors of MDDI, and is going to talk about the distributed learning program taxonomy, and of course about the master. So Tomas, the space is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jose. Yeah, well, I will tell you a little bit maybe about, say, the forces that are behind Fab City and why Fab City that aims to become like a network of cities to change the productive model are interested, or we are interested in offering new programs, right? It's important to understand also the context of Fab City, right? We born from the Global Fab Lab Network, supported and co-founded by other organizations, and we're part of that. We understand that as a process of, as Santi very well explained in his presentation, as a process of appropriating technology from, let's say, unlocking the black box of objects. And once you understand what is happening inside the black box of objects, then you can reinvent almost anything, and literally it's almost anything. So if we have the capacity to design almost anything, then we need to, then we have to the power, and also I think the, let's say the responsibility of thinking why we have to design almost anything. Do we need to design anything, or do we need to design everything? And so those are the questions that we are making ourselves in order to re-understand these new productive models, right? So first of all, or my presentation will be divided into two main, let's say, topics. One are the levels and the categories of the upcoming programs that we are designing, and then in the second part I will be a little bit more deep on explaining MDDI, that is our master program. It's like we did like the opposite. Normally we should we should have started doing like small course, but we decided in a very ambitious way to start from the, let's say, from the cherry of the cake. Jose, let me know if you can see my full screen.
Yes, perfect.
Yes. Okay, cool. Great. Let me know if you can see. You still see my full screen, right? Great. So what we're aiming is to, let's say, locally produce in cities, but at the same time building this interconnectivity of cities. This is a diagram that we have seen a lot within our network, that we want to change this linear production, that many authors mention it as like the entropic fail, or the entropic invoice that we are producing. We are constantly producing new objects, but at the same time, we try to decrease the cost of those objects. But somehow, someone is paying for that margin. And who is paying for that margin is our planet and also our communities. So with new technologies, we want to change that linear process into one that is circular, that in which we can exchange data and produce with machines, with Fab Labs, but much more important with than that is people and communities. So the global market of, yep.
Sorry to interrupt you, but we're seeing like a black box on top of your presentation. I don't know if you have something on top.
Yeah,
yes.
Something appears. And now?
Now we don't see it. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Nore. So, so at the same time, like we produce things, we build an economy over that, right? So, and we flow materials, and we flow raw materials, we flow products from some places that concentrates, let's say, the production models, right? Or let's say the content, the thinking, the designing properties of objects. And we are leaving some regions of the planet without access to that knowledge, to the knowledge of designing things. So what is happening now is that we have students moving all around the world in the same way as we ship products and raw materials. So we have students from, for example, in my case, Latin American countries, that we go to first world countries, let's say, in order to access to those ecosystem of knowledge, to those universities, to those innovation or innovative cities, and so on and so forth. So somehow we're, through the conventional learning and educational models, we're perpetrating the same production model. So if we want to change the production model, we also need to change the way how students and how knowledge is flowing. So this is a completely new layer, but this layer is the bottom layer of the Fab City full stack that we are going to see in a couple of slides more. So we built, as I mentioned, we born through this network, through this global Fab Lab network. We are more than 1,500 Fab Labs spread all around the world. We are located in the southernmost city on the world, in Puerto Williams, Chile, but also one of the northern city in the world in Canada and Finland. So at the same time, all these Fab Labs, we see it like when we see it on the map, have a very let's say, straight correlationship with the Global Cities Index. And the Global Cities Index is a definition of cities in which the products, in which define the type of investments, the type of knowledge, and the type of production capacity that each city on the world has. So Fab Labs has also correlated with this, but at the same time, it's much more saying it's much more spread, saying, in other words, go inside each of the continents, as we can see, like in South America or maybe in Africa. So and we take that as an opportunity. But Fab Labs as a physical digital infrastructure is also correlated with the digital infrastructure of internet. And cities and global cities are also connected by internet. So internet, that we perceive it as a digital and an intangible thing that is like so flowing in the air, in fact, it's a physical thing, right? It's a submarine cable that interconnects all these global cities. So if we want to transfer objects or transfer knowledge through internet, what we are doing is actually transferring them also physically through a, let's say, a highway of internet. So what we are looking from Fab City Foundation is to reconnect Fab Labs with internet, with cities, but also in an upper layer of our bioregions. The world is divided in 185 bioregions and around of 845 ecoregion that defines the way how we live, that defines our pre-Hispanic or pre-cultural cultures, and defined also the way of how we interact within our societies. At the same time, the bioregions define somehow the social contracts, defines what we can produce and what we cannot produce, define the way of how we understand our environment. So Fab City Distributed Learning Platform aims to build a digital community by connecting cities with Fab cities, with industry, and with municipalities, in a way in which we can be flexible with the students, in which they can personalize their own learning load in synchronous and asynchronous content, recognizes the time zone differences. As audience sent us a video, why he has to send us a video and we can't interact with him, how this new way of sharing knowledge could be inserted within a platform in which we can all share and interact constantly. Also, we want to have a diverse programs offer with events, workshops, short courses, diplomas, and masters. Also, would help us to organize and do the management of those courses. And of course, we can keep track of the students. We can evolve the program, create new contents. We can have some metrics in order to define with much precision the contents of each of the programs. So, and we're envisioned to interconnect different impact areas, the supply and production chains, with the creative industry, with the capacity of innovation, with the capacity also of creating new and sustainable entrepreneurship, by creating new educational models in connection with municipalities, and so on and so forth. So what is the learning taxonomy? We have defined 5 different learning objectives. The upper layer is the creation, the second layer is transform, apply, understand, and let's say the lower layer is by interest. So the lowest layer, that is the much more massive layer, is the layer of interest. Noria was explaining at the beginning of this panel that she was explaining the Fab City Summit that we're going to have in October in Bali. That is a massive event in which we can gather people by interest. But then when the person is much more wants to go deeply and wants to understand a specific content that person knew in that event, they probably can pursue a workshop or maybe a masterclass. And then if that person wants to apply knowledge, then that person should pursue a short course. And if they want to do some transformation, the person can go, for example, to Fab Academy, 6 to 8 month, let's say, program with another layer of adding another layer of complexity. But if that person wants to really create in a systemic way, then that person maybe have to pursue a master program. And those persons, how we identify and how we differentiate? By interest, we understand that we might impact the whole citizens. And when we talk about citizens, we're not only talking about people who live in city, but also people who live in rural areas. And then the people who want to understand, or communities who want to understand that knowledge, probably those persons are in municipalities. They might be executive or chief directors of companies. They might be entrepreneurs, or they probably are policymakers. But if they want to apply, probably again, they are executive municipality. They are part of municipalities because they might change some internal processes within cities, but also they can be entrepreneurs. If they want to transform, they can become a policymaker. But if they want to create, if they want to become master in something, then they will become change makers. And in change makers is where the mastering design for distributed innovation is offered. Before I continue, I will leave you with a video. Please let me know or confirm if you can hear the audio of the video. Can you hear it? No?
Yes.
Yeah.
Nowadays, we required almost 2 planets in order to sustain and to keep this production model. We're moving objects all around, but we're also decreasing the price of those objects. And that delta price is being paid by the planet, by the Earth. We really need to stop and change the way how we're approaching design. If we don't do that now, we will probably not have a future. The Master in Design for Distributed Innovation is a distributed learning program that focuses on the intersection of technology, communities, and ecosystems. On one hand, we have digital fabrication machines such as 3D printers, laser cutters, electronics, and so on. And the other track, we have communities who we co-create with others. It's not just about prototyping and using the community to iterate ideas, but to raise and to co-create these new ideas. And then the third variable is ecosystem. We are totally committed to create a bio-based economical model in which we can understand the natural processes of designing biomaterials, but also biotechnology. NDDI is looking for students that are in the creative industry, but also who are engineers, who work in the public sector, who maybe works in the academic or researchers.
The distributed learning model means that students are working in their local context, whilst also having access to lectures or workshops online delivered by a global network of experts. The program combines online learning with hands-on skills in order to help designers to develop both the technical and the social skills needed to develop positive impact projects with local communities.
The student will have the experience of learning by doing, but also impacting in their local context.
We don't want that students have to travel to the other side of the world in order to have impact. We want students to have impact and people to have impact in their communities. We want to develop leaders, we want to develop change makers, and we want to create the space in which they can go on to change the face of the way we live.
So they will have a hybrid learning experience in which they will combine online classes, but also in-person prototyping experiences with a specific community. We envision that the MDDI student is a change maker, is a local change maker.
The program is structured in 3 main modules, each one of 1 trimester, plus a final project implementation. And each module focuses on different levels of the Fab City full stack and addresses 3 main questions: how we design, why we design, and where we design.
The idea is that the final project will come in the shape of a technology, but also it could become in the shape of a system and also in the shape of a service. Students can deploy all the things that they have been learned within their local ecosystem. It could be inside the node, but also inside their working places, or maybe inside their local community or inside their town.
An MDDI graduate might change or develop a new department within their organization or find work as head of innovation, director of strategic design, head of research and development, CEO of their own startup, or lead transformation projects in public and civil organizations.
This is where MDDI promotes, right? The new way of designing, the new way of building the future, and also of generating of natural resources.
can't pass the slide. I don't know why. Let me. Now, yeah, somehow we have managed to design all the things that are surrounding us. And somehow from the design practices, we have discretized the elements, right? We are not designing the interconnection in between objects. So that means that we have not designed our environment. So over these three premises, technology, communities, and natural resources, is where the Master in Design for Distributed Innovation stands. When we talk about distributed learning, we want to, let's say, reconnect the global network of Fab Labs. Monique just told me, the exact number of 2,069 Fab Labs in the world from Monique, 127 countries. So imagine the capacity and the huge infrastructure that we have. So if we can digitally connect all our Fab Labs in a global way, but also we want to create this in-person learning experience. So we can have an hybrid experience in which we can be prototyping and impacting in the same place where students live. Or maybe, and also students can keep their jobs, can keep their own networks. And also we are going to simplify the way of applying the knowledge in a local form, right? If a student from any country, for example, a Latin American country, goes to North America for pursuing a program, a master program, and then they want to apply that knowledge back to their country, that process is much more harder because the learning environment is completely different from the application environment. And that's created, let's say, a friction that we have seen in the past years. So if we really want that this make changes, they can learn through impacting, but they can impact in their local context. As I mentioned a couple of slides before, the Fab City Full Stack is our methodology, is a way of understanding and of seeing complexity by decomposing this complexity into individual and precise design opportunities. We understand that deploying distributed infrastructure for local production with a network of more than 2,000 Fab Labs, we understand that that infrastructure is a grassroots infrastructure. So we'll build on the top of that. So this, what we do in Fab City, in MDDI, is to pack in pairs each of the upper layers of the Fab City Full Stack. So designing new forms of learning and enable impact-based incubation at local scale, we packed it in the question of how we design, in which we're going to offer students some techniques for making. In the upper two layers, cultivating networks for communities and cities, and developing shared urban and territorial strategies, we're going to think about this question of why we have to design. So we're going to offer different methodologies to generate innovations. And then the last two layers, sharing global knowledge through digital ecosystem and applying a bioregional development, is our context of where we are designing, in which each student will have to define their strategies and the implementation by measuring the social, economical, and environmental impact of the project. So in this learning taxonomy, each of the questions will be treated in three different modules. And one module will last one term of 3 months. In module number 1, we're going to design systems using the techniques of distribution and in the scale of the Fab Labs and neighborhood. In module number 2, we're going to design technologies using bio and digital prototyping techniques in the scale of cities. And in module number 3, we're going to design interventions by social, environmental, and economical impact and evaluation in the scale of bioregions. But all this program and all this effort couldn't be, we couldn't make all this effort and progress without, let's say, the incredible support of each node. And today, we want to welcome Lima, Paris, Hamburg, Shanghai, Bali, and Santiago de Chile, and Montreal, Quebec. And we want to thank you also for joining this adventure, for becoming the first nodes of this very first cycle of MDDI. So welcome nodes. And now, Jose, I pass you the ball for the nodes introduction. Thank you very much.
Amazing, thank you, Tom. So as Thomas said, last but not least, we want to present some of the notes, some of the MDDI notes. And if you could briefly tell us about what organization is hosting MDDI, why are you joining MDDI, and what is the importance of the program in your local context, and what are your expectations? So we can start. We can start with Montreal, Quebec node. Monique and Annie, the space is yours.
Great. Hi, everyone. We're very glad to be here actually today. So Communautic, maybe as some of you know, is based in Montreal, Quebec. We're an organization that has been working actually for 23 years now to democratize access to technology in a perspective of more sustainable economic and social development. So this is us, and we're also we have a Fab Lab, EcoFab. We are a node for Fab Academy, and we're very glad to announce that we're also MDDI nodes right now. Officially, we signed this morning. This is great. So Montreal is a Fab City, a new Fab City. And Communautic, on the other hand, is distinguished actually for his sustainable practices. In 2019, for an example, we were eco-certified by EcoSer Canada. So based on the two facts, we think that it's clear that we go in a direction of change. We really want to make the things, to change the actual production line, and we want to work with the city, with the production, the manufacturer, and the local community to make this biggest change. So the big question we have right now, it's more about how do we bring back this positive and regenerative local fabrication here in Quebec. And each time we create a tool here, or we manage to create a new technology, well, we're also responsible for maintaining this fragile balance with the planet. So we think the MDDI program is really a very good stepping stone to actually have more knowledge, build knowledge together, and then collaborate to answer question and prototype answer too. So I think that following and becoming a MDDI node, it's actually, we're expecting great collaboration, of course, but I think it's a very good way to take all the effort, all the problems together and solve it together. One head is good, but two is better. So what can MDDI can do to help? Here we go. Thank you.
Thank you, Annie. Thank you so much. Then we can go over the Shanghai node. They sent us a recording, so we can go through it.
Hello, everyone. This is Jeff Ding, founder of Fab Lab O Shanghai, the first built Fab Lab in mainland China. We are very glad to work closely with Fab City Foundation and the YOC to host the MDDI program in China. FabO is rooted in the College of Design and Innovation, Tongji University, whose QS rank is 12 on art and design subject this year. FabO converges global innovation mindsets in local society based on building creative systems on social, economic, and educational ecology in China. To make the great leap from made in China to innovated in China. Shanghai, with a population of 25 million, is a quickly expanding city still. Like many other metro cities, we consume tons of resource and energy every day. The urban life becomes less and less sustainable. Shanghai government is reshaping the city by promoting 15-minute urban life circles. 15-minute community is urban cells that constitute this organic life form. After the outbreak of the coronavirus and the city lockdown, the function of the community has become more complex, and the role of the community has become more prominent. We are invited to set up Fab Labs in various communities, where tools and programs are provided locally. Digital files will be shared and distributed globally, so that for local people, they can invent self-sustained solutions. We hope MDDI will bring global knowledge together once again with local participants to address complex challenges and to gain the social and technical skills needed to develop projects for positive impact with their own community. We are very excited about hosting and promoting this program in China and looking forward to meeting more friends and students this fall. Thank you and have a good day.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Virtually. Then we can go over to Santiago de Chile. Joaquin, if you are there.
Thank you. Well, first, thank you for the invitation to this meeting. I'm Joaquin Gonzalez, member of the collaborative node of Santiago de Chile, a node integrated for 3 organizations with the same purpose but different backgrounds. The first one is Protein Lab, the Fab Lab of the Innovation Hub of the Metropolitan Technology University of Chile, led for Macarena Valenzuela. The second is Fab Lab of the University of Chile, the main lab of the University of Chile, located in the and supported by the Faculty of Engineering and led by Danisa Peric, and me, representing Synesthesia.cc. We are a think and do tank focused on collaborative and creative projects that aims to relate traditional industries, entrepreneurs, universities, and communities to deliver positive impact. Joining the MDDI organized by Fab City Foundation and the IAC is an opportunity for Santiago to take up again what started at the Fab 13 here in Santiago in 2017, joining the Fab City, signing the agreement, delivering the content of the MDDI give us professional skills to achieve and distribute our goals. We think this could be the beginning of a strong relation between the change makers of all around the Fab City community and the local communities here in Chile. As some of us we know, we faced a social revolution in 2019, and then came COVID-19 pandemic. In that moment, nothing of the common way of doing or thinking had any sense, and everyone was questioning themselves and others. So new ideas and movements have ways and way of doing were here, and they solve problems. So today we are writing in Chile a new constitution, and doors are open to talk in a new language. And based on the principles we are talking about today, we think MDDI will be a big opportunity to expand or spread our way of seeing things, creating and incorporating new words to the language that we are creating now. As developing countries, we need to increase the tools we have to achieve our sustainable goals, overcome poverty, and start a transformation in the way we think, how the new economy should be, and how to recover environments, and how we see our role as designers to make this transformation. What we expect to generate an ecosystem of communities, champions, change makers, and labs to develop projects based on the Fab City Full Stack Initiative with the skills that MDDI can give us, and discover and teach new ways or forms of creating community relations, and bring down the silos of the way that our countries see development. Thanks.
Thank you, Joaquin. Thank you so much. Then we can go over the Hamburg node. So Wolf, the space is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Josefina. I'll share my screen for a second. Oops, where is it? Okay, where? Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes. We're having those gray squares issue right now, but I cannot see them in your screen, so I think we're okay.
Check. Now it's better. Can you see now the screen?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Okay, so yes, I want to present the Hamburg node for MDDI. So the Hamburg node will be operated by the Fab City Hamburg, which I will present briefly. So first, for those who don't know Hamburg, it's I think the most northern Fab city worldwide. It's in the very north of Germany, the important ports, or it's one of the most important ports in Europe, and was also the first German Fab city. The Fab City by itself, it was founded in 2019. It's quite a big Fab City, I believe. So we have 15 employees due to some important project we are conducting here. And we have about 18 members from different backgrounds. And yeah, we have now two major projects, the DTEC project and the Interfacer project. I will talk a little bit more about that later. And yeah, some words about our ecosystem. So there are four principal parts. So we have the diverse labs in our city. So Fab Labs, Open Labs, Bio Labs. We will open next week a textile lab in Hamburg. So about 6 labs we have in Hamburg. Then we have some actors from the civil society. So there's the climate protection NGO is in the lab. And there's the Society for Creative Industries is in the lab. Also some other spaces and so on. Then we have a quite important research part. So we have one of the university, they making research since about 10 years now on distributed production here, and so they was very interested. So they started much earlier than Hamburg became a Fab City, but they was working somehow on the very same topics like Fab City. And then we have a quite good network of small enterprises from different fields, so from electronics, from textile, from making prototypes. We have a company, they building local bikes here, local cargo bikes in the city. We have a small furniture industry. They are making furniture by digital fabrication methods. We have Libo Solar, they're making solar panels also locally, and so on. So somehow our main missions, I would say, as a Fab City, is on the one side to set up a local infrastructure for physical fabrication. So this is what we call the Open Lab starter kit. So we're developing somehow all the machines which you found in a Fab Lab as open source machines. So we are collaborating with the Ingrassia InMachines. I believe some of you know them. yeah, this is the idea that we will have a whole set of open source machines in the open lab, and the idea is also to distribute this the plans for the machines all over the world, so as it is open source. And on the other side, we are having a second big project, the Interfacer project, where we build this global infrastructure for digital production. So this is a digital infrastructure where we build a platform somehow where designers from all over the world can share their open source files, and other Fab Labs all over the world can download it. And we implement economic value flow system that somehow open source could be also be paid by a system which is enabled by blockchains. So why is the MDI for us important? First, yeah, to supporting the research. What is interesting is to combining the action research with academic research. So the hand and brain idea is, I think, very important for us. Then we have somehow very often the problem, it's probably a problem of a rich country, but yeah, to recruiting researchers and employees with a knowledge on Fab City's values and methods. So it's really hard to find yeah, good people here in the city. So somehow this could help us also to educate people where we can work with. And then finally enabling new local projects. And finally, it's also like as we have a lot of open source projects in our local network, and of course open source just makes sense if you collaborate and cooperate with others on this project. So somehow to get an exchange with other Fab cities, with other nodes, yeah, it's quite important. And also at the end, I think it's also a good opportunity to think as a network to create economic value in our network. So somehow that we are, yeah, we're building our own economy with our own system of education and so on. This is also, yeah, quite an interesting point to consider. Yeah, that's it so far.
Thank you, Wolf. Amazing. We were gonna have Lima Naldi, but I think she couldn't make it. I cannot see her. So maybe what we can do is a few minutes we have left, we can open the space as well. Like if someone has any questions or comments, we can open the space, and please be comfortable of turning on your microphone. I can wait a few minutes. Okay, so if no one has any questions or comments, to wrap up, I want to thank everyone on participating and being active in these sessions. Hope to see you all once again, maybe in Bali. So thanks to everyone. Ida, Nore.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Thanks all. Have a good day.
So thank you, everybody. It was nice to be here.
Thank you. Ciao.
Thank you so much.
Bye.